Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last paragraph of chapter 5, which is called Radical Equations. Quite a radical name. Hey, we're going to take a look at radical equations. It's in the summary here. And what radical equations actually are, I'm going to discuss in theory A. And afterwards, we're going to take a look at, most of the time, square roots in theory B and C. And as you can see, or maybe now can also predict, radical equations have to do with square roots. In Dutch, radical equations are simply called wortelvergelijkingen. Vergelijkingen met een wortel erin. And some of those are quite easy to see the result of, the solution you can say. For example, the root of x equals 7. Yeah, how could I solve this? Yeah, which number do I have to fill in here to find 7? That can only be 49, right? Not minus 49, remember, because you cannot calculate the root of negative numbers. How could I also find this? Well, by squaring both sides, because if I square the left-hand side, the root of x squared, the root and the square cancel each other out. So I find x on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side becomes 49. In the same way, let's say the left-hand side is a bit more complicated. X minus 3 inside of the root equals 5. The same procedure of solving can be used by just squaring both sides. Squaring the left-hand side gets rid of the roots, and squaring the right-hand side gives me 25. And then you do plus 3 on both sides, you find x equals 28. If you have something in front of the roots, first divide by that number. 2 root x equals 18. First divide left and right by 2, and you find root x equals 9. Square both sides gives me x equals 81. If you have 2 plus root x, get that 2 out of here. Do minus 2 on both sides, and you get root x equals 16. Square both sides, and you find x is 256. One thing that you have to be very careful of is this kind of equations right here. Root x equals minus 4. Don't make the mistake to now square both sides, because then you find indeed x equals, then minus 4 squared equals 16. You find something and you think, well, that's my answer, right? X equals 16, but that doesn't compute here, because fill in x back into my answer. Root x becomes root 16. That doesn't become minus 4. You cannot do that here. Here, if the right-hand side, this number here is negative, and I have a root on the left-hand side, I have no solutions. That gives me this equation form here. Root x equals a, so that means no number in front of my roots, and also nothing plus my root on the left-hand side or minus, right? First simplify. If I then have this form, then if a is positive, I can solve it by saying x equals a squared. I square both sides. But if a is negative, I have no solution. You have to remember this last part. It's very easy to make this mistake. So let's practice. Root 2x minus 1 equals 7. Hey, I have nothing in front of my roots. I have nothing plus my roots, right? This thing inside, if there's a minus 1 inside my root, I don't care, right? Everything inside root is okay. Equals 7. Hey, that's a positive number. So here just square the left-hand side and the right-hand side. The root disappears, and the right-hand side becomes the square of 7 is 49. Plus 1 on both sides, divide by 2 gives me x equals 25. Okay? Here, I do first want to simplify. That means get rid of this 5 here. It has to get out of here. Do minus 5 on both sides. Minus 5 here, minus 5 here, gives me minus root x equals 3. But I said I don't want anything in front of my root x either. This is negative root x equals 3, so here divide both sides by negative 1. gives me root x equals minus 3. Be careful, my right hand side is minus here, it's negative. So you can say the value for a is negative. So here, please don't square both sides, immediately write down no solution. That is because the right hand side, the value for a, you can say, is negative. And then let's see, 3 root x equals 10. I want to get rid of what's in front of my root first, so first divide left and right by 3. Gives me root x equals 10 divided by 3. Now square both sides and it gives me this. And that's why we don't write it here as a decimal number, write it like a fraction. Because if I now square that whole fraction, remember that means the top and the bottom is being squared, the numerator and the denominator. So this becomes 100 divided by 9. And you can do this mentally, that's 11 1/9. Okay, so I want you to remember to always check if I have written it in this form with a root on the left hand side and the number a on the right hand side. If it's negative, don't square, write down no solution. Otherwise, of course, square and you find a solution. Okay, good luck.